Are you looking into wireless earbuds for the first time? Or are you looking for a new pair that won't break the bank like some other companies? Well, you're in the right place. Hello, I am Wanderer001 and this is my review of the Wyze Bud Pros. I will say this is actually my first foray into wireless earbuds. They're not something that I normally like. I am one of those people who prefers not to have the earbuds or earphones stuck into my ear canal. I much prefer the over-the-head option, a review over there in the corner, of the Wyze headphones that I have, which I will admit were very good for the price point that you get. And that's why you're here. You are either familiar with Wyze as a company offering good quality hardware, but at a reasonable price. And I don't say low-end price anymore because of either supply chain issues, chip shortages, or the overall business model of Wyze. They're not exactly on the cheap side anymore. They're a lower to mid-range option, but that does not mean that you're going to be breaking the bank with these pair of earbuds. Now, I say pair of earbuds even though they're sitting stealthily in this case. This case is actually how you transport the wireless earbuds as well as charge them. You'll notice there on the bottom there is a USB-C charging port, and that charges both the case and the earbuds that are hiding inside. There is an LED status light right there, and if I flip it open, that LED status light will let you know what's happening charge-wise and pairing-wise. You can see right there, there's a blinking light letting you know that it is trying to pair up to my phone. The Wyze Buds themselves can only be paired to one device at a time, and that is one of the things that I wish they did a little differently. I do wish that I could have these paired to at least a minimum of 2 devices, only because my primary reason for getting these was to stealthily use them at work while paired to my office computer. I wish I could also have them paired to my phone at the same time. Because this is a Wyze product, that does mean that there is a setup process for them. Is it a terrible setup process? I will admit, being the first time that I've ever tried pairing a set of buds like this, it was a little trickier for me than it might be for you, but let's use this as a segue to take a look at the setup process for the Wyze Buds here. This is setup of the Wyze Buds Pro. We're in the Wyze application. We're going to select up at the top, add a device, and then we're going to come and find, I'm going to assume lifestyle. Yep, Wyze Buds Pro, we'll do that. All right, so we're going to select allow contacts and call history and pair. And there you saw it was connected with Alex A. And here we go. Of course, there's a firmware upgrade, so we are going to do that right now. And we're going to select update, but not make you sit through this, especially since it says it can take up to 30 minutes for this to update. Total update time, 4 minutes, so not bad. We'll select done. And here we can see basic information. We'll just cover this in the application portion. So that was setup of the Wyze Buds, and they should be at the top here. Okay, Wyze Buds Pro. Once you go through the setup process one time, I will admit it is much easier to do. You just need to make sure that you know that there is a pairing button right there, which took me a bit of time to do. I will also state that you do not need to use the Wyze application in order to pair the earbuds to a device. Obviously, I attached it to a computer where you can't have the Wyze app on, so you can just pair these as a standalone Bluetooth device, which I do really appreciate and always want to make sure anything that integrates into an app that you can use it without the app. What we're going to do now is I'm going to open up the case here and I'm going to take one of the earbuds out. I'm going to see if I can get in there a little bit. It's kind of tricky because it's shiny, but the lid itself is magnetic, so it'll keep it kind of shut. I did at first, since the Wyze logo was on the back here and I saw this strip, I thought it opened this way, so I almost broke the case a couple times until I realized, oh, the status light is where you need to open it from. The headphone itself is magnetic, so it slips in and is held in place by magnets, so it won't pop out. There also are little metal charging footies all the way down in there that you can't really see, and if I bring up the tip into focus here, let's see if I can do this, right there, would be where it kind of mounts up and charges. So this is the overall shape of the earbud itself. It is a oval shape right here for the ear canal, which Wyze said they did a lot of research on to best give the shape for the ear canal. I will admit I do kind of like the oval shape as it sits in my ear. It does help to create a better seal, and that's partially done with this rubberized bit around the tip. Now in the box with the buds and the case itself, you also get a USB-C charging cable, no power brick though, but you also get other rubberized ear tips. So you have on here is the standard, but you have large and small. So depending on your ear canal, you can adjust as needed. I will admit, I guess my ear canals are a little weird. So I have the normal on the right ear, and then on my left ear, I swapped it out for the smaller tip. And that gets the good seal because these have active noise cancellation. And in order to get the best use out of that active noise cancellation, you need to have a nice rubberized seal. I will admit I was actually very surprised at the ability of the active noise cancellation, which Wyze states is 40 decibels of noise cancellation. Yes, there are specific pitches and tones that you may notice through the earbuds. And again, general office work, driving, even though you're not supposed to, but you can have one earbud at a time. I'll explain that a little later. You can block out a lot of generalized noise. And in fact, while testing these, I would use them while washing dishes. My wife would be talking and she wouldn't realize I had them in since they're so small and stealthy. I've also used them while mowing the lawn, which is my primary test even for the original Wyze headphones over there, to see how well they did. Now they did not do as good as the Wyze headphones, but those are something that go around the entire ear, encompassing it in foam. These, however, stick right into your ear, but did surprisingly well. And I will admit, for the amount of time that you're supposed to be able to get out of these, you should be able to get through, unless you have a very large lawn, a good mowing session with them. They also have a 15-minute rapid charge in order to get up to at least an hour's worth of use. So that's also good because, again, while testing, I did this several times, I forgot to charge them and I need to charge at 15 minutes and I was good to go for my mowing session, which was very nice. They are listed at IP4, water resistant. What does that mean? That means pretty much sweat. I will admit that I did take these out while it was misting to slightly drizzling while raining. I did have a hat on, which might have helped a little bit. They did get a little damp, but I did not notice any worse for wear when utilizing them in that fashion. So very, very cautious with that, but they can take a little bit of water. Speaking of the headphone themselves, the earbud itself, it uses 3 voice isolating microphones in order to make you sound super crisp. And again, I've used these. People don't realize I have them, especially when I'm on Zoom calls in the office. Again, that stealthy mode, because these aren't white like some other earbuds out there, it's a little trickier to see them. I don't have long hair, I have short hair, but if I have one in and have my head towards the door, you only see the one side of my head with earbud in the other. You'll notice it is a little bulbous here, so it does stick out oddly, I want to say, but the stem is not as long as some other ones, and that's why I think it's a little stealthier. If we bring the stem into focus, you'll notice right up here, this is actually a touchpad. There is a touchpad on both the right bud and the left bud, allowing you to do specific actions. Play pause, raise volume, activate your voice assistant of choice. Alex A is built into the earbuds, but depending on if you're on iOS or Android, you can change that so that you can activate your phone's voice assistant of choice. The earbuds also support auto pause, which is something that I don't really like because I use them sometimes with one bud at a time. That, however, can be changed in the application for the Wyze Buds. So why don't we take a look at what you can actually do with the Wyze app for the Wyze Buds. This will be the Wyze app for the Wyze Buds Pro. Keep in mind, you will need to have your Wyze Buds already paired to your device via Bluetooth in order to access this menu system. If you don't have them attached via Bluetooth, you won't actually be able to edit any of the settings. So once you do that, you simply select the buds. They go through their connecting phase, even though they're already connected to your device, and then you're brought to your main splash screen here. Right now you can see they are in active noise cancellation mode by default. Swiping to the right, the Wyze Buds are just on. Swiping to the right, best for quiet or windy places. And then transparency mode, meaning you can hear the outside. So active noise cancellation on, active noise cancellation off, and then transparency mode so you can hear what's going on. And you've got your dots down here that let you know where you're progressing. I wish they did a little better job kind of relaying what that actual information is. At the top, you have left, right, and case battery distinctions for each. Clicking on them does absolutely nothing, so you don't have to worry about this page except for swiping left and right between the active noise cancellations. Notice there's no battery percentage on this screen, just a image to let you know how much is there. But if we come up to the sprocket icon or the cog icon, we can name our Wyze Buds simply by selecting that and changing the name. Here you actually get a percent readout for each individual earbud as well as the case. And this is one thing I did notice a lot, was that the Wyze Buds themselves didn't discharge equally, in my opinion. Here you could see left is at 87 and the right is at 90. Granted, that's not a large swath difference between the two, but it was enough where I tried to figure out, is it because I'm touching the right one more than the left one? There's a time I just left it alone, which is what we're looking at right now, and it just seems to discharge a little faster. You've got a bass boost selector right here, so toggling that on will activate the bass boost. Here we have our touch controls. These are kind of cool in that you could do different things based on how you touch the earbud or an individual earbud. So right now you can see single tap, right increases the volume and left decreases the volume. So if I tap on my right earbud, it will raise the volume. If I tap on the left earbud, it will lower volume. Double tap on either will play pause. Triple tap will activate the voice assistant, again on either. You can change that where if we select, you can say what it does, and then if it's the left one or the right one. So down here we have our control options. So a single tap right now, I have it set for do nothing. Double tap answers, and then triple rejects a call. And again, this is the menu system where you can change those. And you see they have little indications right there as to what the tapping motion should be. I kind of like the ability to change those things, so I'm glad that Wyze added them into the application portion here. Here you have your voice assistant, so you can select native or the Alexa because, well, let's be honest, Wyze definitely seems to have paired with Alexa in their product rollouts. But if you have an iPhone or you have an Android, you can use your either native Siri or Google Assistant. And then here we have automatic pause your content when you remove an earbud. I found that this is hit or miss depending on which earbud I removed. If I removed them both, then yes, things paused. When I put them back, they started, but if I removed one over the other, it was if that would actually work. Here we have our product guide. So it's pretty much just gonna walk you through the basics of how to get everything situated. Here we have our device info. Selecting that will show you information about the Wyze Buds Pro themselves, your Wyze support, which is built into the application. Again, I do appreciate the fact that Wyze puts this in here, makes it easier to find product info. So begin troubleshooting, and then lets you kind of work your way through a FAQ style to help yourself out, with the end being that if you cannot, you can always contact support. And that is everything that you can do with the Wyze Buds Pro. Notice that there is a thing missing with the Wyze headphones, and that was any sort of EQ controls. You have bass boost and that's it. Everything else is just, this is what you get. The application itself is a little sparse in what you could do to manipulate the Wyze Buds themselves, but if you're using active noise canceling earbuds like that, chances are you're doing it more for working out or something of that nature. But this has been the look at the application for the Wyze Buds Pro. So you may have noticed when I was in the application that there was no EQ settings, and that's because the Wyze Buds Pro here use an adaptive EQ where Wyze uses their algorithm to automatically adjust the frequency levels depending on what you're listening to. Myself, I mostly listen to podcasts, so that's the spoken word. I have listened to music through them, and for me, being a non-audiophile, it worked out perfectly fine. I'm not saying that it's going to give you the greatest sound quality, because let's be honest, you're looking at a lower to mid-range earbud, but for me, I found it perfectly acceptable and very good, even with their adaptive EQ working and not me telling it what to do. The earbud and case itself is Bluetooth 5.0, which is how it's going to connect to your phone, but that means you're going to have good transmission distance as well as battery efficiency. The 10mm driver in here, I will admit, again, is a lot better than I thought you would get for something in a earbud. And again, this is my first time experiencing an earbud, so this is actually an interesting use case. A lot of other reviewers out there have tested lots and lots of earbuds. This is my first one, so I'm coming at this from a fresh outlook. I've got nothing to compare it to. The only thing I have it to compare to is a larger over-the-head earphone, and I've done a lot of those. Battery life for the earbuds, if you don't throw them back in the case to charge, Wyze says with ANC on, you'll get about 4.5 hours. I have used them for 3 hours, and after that, they got a little irritating for me. Again, not used to having something in my ear canal, but 4.5 hours does seem very doable. ANC off is 6 hours of playback time. Realistically, if you're gonna get these, you're gonna use the ANC. I highly recommend it. They also have a transparency mode, which will get you about the same as the ANC because those are using active microphones on the outside so that you can be situationally aware, which is again, something that I appreciate. It's not muffling out the sound. You kind of get like super hearing because, well, you can hear a lot better since those microphones are increasing the volume and bringing it into the headphone. The case itself, you charge via USB-C, or if you have a Qi compatible charger, we'll just put that right there. Let you know, yep, you can charge this wirelessly as long as you have a suitable device. Keep in mind, charging wirelessly will take a little longer to charge. Earbuds themselves take an hour and a half to charge. The case wire, depending on the wall wart that you're using plugged into the USB-C, can take upwards of 3 hours to charge. Now, you heard me mention several times that you can listen to one earbud at a time, but keep in mind you do have to make that change in the application itself. And remember that depending on what controls you add to each earbud, you may or may not be able to control all of the functionality from the earbuds. From this, which is the little touchpad. Again, it took me a little time to get used to coming up here in order to touch, and depending on the size of your hands, that could be a little difficult to find. One other thing that I have noticed is the earbuds themselves do always pair in ANC mode. I do wish that Wyze would give you the option in the application itself to tell it either pair in transparency mode or not at all. And again, I know they're making updates because in the application portion, I said that you could only change to the non-ANC or transparency mode through the app. Afterwards, right before filming this, they changed it where you can actually tap to rotate to that third option. Again, Wyze, I know you watch a lot of these. Just consider being able to pick which mode it goes into. One thing to consider, even with the shorter stem here, just being the age that we're currently living in and where I work, I still have to mask up at work. Just like any of these, even with the shorter stem, you may flip it off depending on when you're taking off your mask. I did that a lot. I almost lost one. They're resilient, even hitting hardwood floor from 5 feet 7 inches up, we'll say. One other thing that I wish would change for the Wyze Bud is when they get low on battery, we'll just put that back in there, close, take out the other one, is I wish that it would not nag you as much as it does. When it gets down to 15%, it will start nagging saying, 15%, please charge. You notice or you remember from the application, your Wyze Buds themselves may have slightly different percents based on usage. I did find that when one bud dies, if you open your case up, repair it, you can use the other bud that still hasn't died independently of the other. Just keep in mind that if you're down to 15% with one bud, the other bud's probably fairly close. You're only gonna get a couple more minutes of usage out of it. The shiny plastic, I will admit, I wish was kind of muted for the earbud, but it's not terrible. I just find myself wiping them down after every use. So if all of that sounds good to you, even with those few quirks that I had mentioned, the big question then becomes, well, I said that they were a lower to mid-range price point now. How much do they cost? Well, that really depends on where you're picking them up. If you get them from Wyze itself, right now they're listed at $74. If you get them on Amazon, it might be closer to $90. Keep in mind with Wyze that you do pay for shipping, so that does bump up the price. At that price point, are these good earbuds? Personally, like I said, I have never tested any other earbuds before for myself. As a earbud newbie, that price point, for what I got, I was pleasantly surprised. And if this is your first foray into earbuds, I think you will probably be pleasantly surprised as well, especially if you're familiar with all the other products that Wyze has. Chances are, if you're watching this, you are. If you have more high-end earbuds, this might not do it for you. I will admit that. However, if price point and functionality and options are what you're looking for, then you can't go wrong checking out the Wyze Bud Pro from Wyze. With that being said, I have been Wanderer001. If you have any questions or comments, please feel free to leave them in the area below. And as always, thanks for watching. If you found this video helpful, consider giving it a like, as that will help other people find the video as well. If you like what I'm doing here, you can always help fuel the next review by buying me a coffee, link in the description below.
Last but not least, if you want to be notified when I upload a new video, you know what to do.